We'll talk about that.
It's dark down here. It's quite poor. Hello and welcome back, and in this video we've been looking at how I create the sound design for an audio podcast. I've done quite a bit of work since the last video, and let's have a look at it. What I've done is so we have, if we just look here, we've got I'm just going to play a little bit of these. So this is open it. So this is a stretched audio track of mine, and then we have the actual audio that was sent to me, which
shattered roads and provide his queen with a smooth.
And then we had a section that I called stretched vocals, which sort of sounded a bit like this. Now, what I decided was that this podcast needs quite a bit of sound design or sound effects, because we've got this boy pushing this blind queen in a scruffy, dirty old pram. So the first thing I needed was some sounds of a pram running on pebbles, really, or on a dirt road. And one of the sites that I use quite a lot is this site. Let's get that out of the way, which is Freesound. Freesound's brilliant because, as it says, there's a whole load of like sound effects and short clips there, and it's all done by donation, so you don't have to pay for it at all. I like to donate probably twice a year to keep the site going, and it's a really, really good resource. There's literally very rarely have I come across something that I thought, oh, I want this, and they haven't had it, or something that I can make up to sound like a particular sound. So, and I've used it quite a bit on this particular project. So the first thing we've got is it's called the Dirty Road Pram Walk. So we've got that sound. And I've got a variation of that because there's a point in the story where it's meant to sound like it's pebbles on a beach. So we've got another variation of that. So here's the variation. This is the one where it's meant to sound more like pebbles on a beach. And we've also got, I think I'd already put the instrument piano in before, which is this one. Let's get rid of some of these others. So the other thing we've got is there's at one point they stop for the day and the boy lights a fire, so we've got the sound of the flint. The sound of the flint is there. Is that the sound of the flint? Yeah, flint light. So we have the sound of the boy lighting the flint. And then we also have the sound of the fire crackle. And without giving too much away, what we've got here, we've actually, at this point, we've got the fire going in reverse. Let's just play, I'll play that sound on its own. And now I will put it in with everything else. So just go back a little bit and
In his dreams, the boy was walking through a lush green forest.
so it's not meant to represent the fire. It's meant to actually just add a little bit of extra sound design to that particular part of the story.
Were flung aside. A growl, heavy feet. The bear was on him before he had time to react. He jerked away, his back wet with sweat.
Now, there the boy talks about his dream, which is where a bear comes at him. And I've purposefully not included the growl of a bear, but I've used other audio effects like a louder piano part and the fire reverse to just add extra emphasis. I thought it was a bit predictable to put the actual bear growl in. Although there is a point where a gunshot is fired at the Queen and the boy, and I have actually included the gunshot. Where is the gunshot? I think it might be up here.
But not to speed up, not to run. With every step he could feel the machete bite into his shoulder and the shotgun round chew a chunk out of his neck. He kept pushing.
Now, I wondered whether the gunshot was actually too loud in the mix, and although I brought it down in the mix, I'm still not sure about it. I need to have another few more listens to it to actually make that decision as to whether I'll try bringing the volume down a little bit more, so it's more in the background, because obviously they're in the actual story they're walking away from the protagonists with the gun. There's also the sound of a machete hitting skin, and I struggle to find that sound. What I've ended up using is
Some kind of flying creature screeched. We must carry on with our journey, my queen, if we are
just before we get onto the machete, there is a point where they hear some sort, as he says, some sort of let's just play the vocal first so you can hear
them. Some kind of flying creatures screeched.
Some kind of flying creature. So we don't actually know what the creature is, but we can assume it's some sort of mutated bird, eagle, whatever. So what we've got is we've got this sound. And I've actually put a long reverb tail on that. So the sound without the reverb sounds like this. Which is fine, but actually the reverb just gives it a much more eerie, scary sort of effect. So we were going to go back to the machete. Now, when we come to look at the machete, the actual sound effect, and again it's come from Freesound, is it's described as ripping apart carcass, and there's two versions of it. So I'll just play it on its own now. And what I've done to that is I've put again another long reverb on it. So if I just play it without the effect, you can see. Now that sounded too much like ripping a chicken carcass apart, which is what it is. So, by putting the reverb on it, it sounds unusual. It doesn't quite sound like a machete, but put it in context of everything else that's going on.
His back, like the sun, burned his back. It took all his willpower not to speed up, not to run. With every step he could feel the machete bite into his shoulder and the shotgun round chew a chunk out of his neck. He kept pushing.
Because it's an unusual sound, it's to give the inference of a machete rather than a definite ouch sort of business. That's what the thinking there was. So that's where I'm up to. I'm just about to do a final mix and put the titles in at the end, and then I will make a WAV file of it, turn that into an MP3 and send that to David Martin, the editor, for him to put up on the Endless Sky podcast site. So I'll put a link down below to the actual site so that you can actually hear the finished article. And thanks very much for watching. If you've got any questions about how I do this sort of stuff, stick them in the links down below. And I hope you found it useful, and I'll see you in another video. Thanks very much. Bye bye.